My name's Ryan Diamisi. I work for Christian Wealth Management as a wealth advisor. Many of you guys know Dave Ramsey, right there. Good looking guy. I've been a fan of his since 2013 when I started working at Christian Wealth Management. You guys might know his principles, and I've always appreciated his simple, biblical approach to financial planning and wealth management. Many of you know that before investing, Dave Ramsey will encourage you to pay off your debt that's not mortgage, and then to build an emergency fund, and then with your income to start investing in tax qualified accounts. And he often encourages people to prioritize Roth savings over traditional. So today what I wanted to talk through is what's the difference between Roth and traditional. Before I get into describing the difference between traditional and Roth and addressing the 4 misconceptions of the Roth contributions, I wanted to discuss what is a qualified account. So a qualified account, like the name implies, is that it qualifies for some type of tax savings. Another term associated with tax qualified accounts would be the term tax deferral. And tax deferral is associated with a traditional contribution, which is you're deferring the taxes, as the name implies, into a later date. So tax deferral says, whatever money I put into this account now, I am not going to pay income taxes on it now because I'm saving it for some type of purpose that the IRS has deemed notable, like retirement. Health savings accounts is another example. But I am pushing off, in many cases, I'm pushing off the taxable event to my future self when I make the distribution. So tax deferral is, I'm not paying taxes on that money now, but it's probably coming for me at a later date. So the first misconception people have, I don't know why I'm using my hands, but it just feels right, around Roth savings is that Roth or traditional are their own investment account. So a Roth or a traditional always describes a type of qualified retirement plan. For example, there could be a 403b somebody has with their employer, or a 401k, and that employer may offer the employee to make Roth or traditional contributions to that plan. With an IRA, you can make Roth or traditional contributions to an IRA. So in and of itself, you can't just open a Roth account. It's always associated with, is it an employer-sponsored plan, or is it a personal retirement account like an IRA? The second misconception is that Roth is always better. Ramsey has that great adage, match beats Roth beats traditional. It's not always the case that Roth is going to beat traditional. So when to choose Roth would be if you're young, you're just getting your career going, and you can save for retirement. That's going to make sense to use Roth in almost every case. When to choose traditional would be if you're in your last years of your working career and your income is much higher than you expect it to be in retirement. Then it's going to make sense for you to take the tax deduction now. Those are some examples of when to choose Roth, when to choose traditional. So the third misconception when it comes to Roth versus traditional or saving for retirement is that you have to wait till you're 59 and a half. There are options that you have to access your savings earlier than 59 and a half. Some examples would be for education expenses, for qualified medical expenses, for early retirement. If it's with your 401k, there's a rule of 55. If it's in an IRA, you can do what's called a SEP, or a substantially equal periodic payment. The point is, most people think when they're saving in their IRAs or their 401ks for retirement that they have to wait till they're 59 and a half. And that's just not true, that you have to wait till you're 59 and a half in order to access the money without penalties. So the fourth misconception for saving for Roth versus traditional is people wondering, will they ever have enough? And that is a good question. Will you have enough? I think the first question that we got to ask is, how much is enough? You can't answer how much is enough. It's going to be hard to know, one, have you hit the number that you need in your retirement savings to actually make the transition from your working career to retirement. So defining how much is enough is very important. How we can work towards that number, because that number does change over time. For example, When you're single, how much is enough is going to look different than when you get married. And when you have kids, it's going to change again. And then when your kids move out, that's going to change. So that number is going to change over time. But what's important is to have some type of process to have a number that you've identified as what is enough. And the process, as you guys aren't going to want to hear this, is to make a budget. Or you can use cash flow plan if the word budget is negative in your household. But to have some type of monthly process of writing down your ideals on paper and then reflecting on what fell short or what went well on your ideals. Doing that monthly, you will get better and have more confidence that you will have more than you need to accomplish everything that God wants to accomplish in your life. In conclusion, the 4 misconceptions we talked about is that Roth or traditional are their own account, and they're not, right? They're associated with a retirement savings account or retirement qualified account. The second misconception is that Roth is always better. In most cases, it is going to be the most appropriate option, but there are times where it's not. The third misconception is that your money is locked up to your 59 and a half. And the reality is most people don't retire till past 60. But I think it is helpful for people to know, especially younger people, as they're saving, that there are ways to legitimately access the funds earlier if you make plans to do so. And then the fourth misconception is that you won't have enough. And I just refuse to believe as a Christian that we don't have enough to accomplish what God wants to accomplish through our lives. But I do think God does call us to be diligent with what we have. And I think about the proverb now that says, wealth built hastily will dwindle, but he who gathers little by little will have much. Yeah, hopefully this has provided some insight on what you can do in your situation to set you and your family up for success. If you feel like you need any more information and would like to use me as a resource, feel free to reach out.